Namaste, my dear friends. Now I am here to bring to your notice in a simplified manner the topic called composition scheme under the GST. Section 10 of the CGST Act deals with composition scheme. Composition scheme under this, I am now grouping the taxpayers into broadly two groups. One is called as trader, manufacturer, and restaurant. All the three will be called as one group. In that case, if you are being a trader, manufacturer, restaurant, your aggregate turnover all over India basis does not exceed 1 crore 50 lakhs. If so, then you can think of composition scheme under this particular GST. See, what is a composition scheme, sir? The benefit of composition scheme is providing to you, being a trader, manufacturer, restaurant, you are allowed to pay very lesser rate of GST than that of the normal rate of GST. For example, if a trader going to pay the GST at the rate of 9% CGST, 9% HGST under the normal scheme, if he is chosen this particular option, being a trader liable to pay the tax only 0.5% of the CGST, 0.5% the SGST, hardly effectively 1% rather than to pay 18%. There is a huge amount of saving, 17%. So it is really helpful for the MSME sectors, especially micro, medium, small enterprises are considered. Yes, it is a highly helping tool extending by the government. Grow first, then pay the tax next is the concept of the composition scheme. So in this manner, the government is offered, if you wanted to have composition scheme, yes, you can have, but you should satisfy certain conditions that should not be forget set by the GST Council and also notified by the government. In this regard, all over India, aggregate turnover not exceeded 1 crore 50 lakhs. All over India, aggregate turnover, if not exceed 1.5 crores, being a trader, manufacturer, or a restaurant, one can think of composition. However, if a trader or a manufacturer or restaurant fellow is located in the following states, namely Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Mizoram, Meghalaya, Nepal, sorry to say, Nagaland, Sikkim, Tripura, Uttarakhand, in the following 8 states. Repeating again, one is called Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Mizoram, Nagaland, Sikkim, Tripura, thereafter Meghalaya, Uttarakhand, the following 8 states. If you are in the following 8 states, that is important to note. Your aggregate turnover not required to exceed 75 lakh. A trader, a manufacturer, or a restaurant having the place of business Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland, Sikkim, Tripura, or Uttarakhand. Also, we call Uttaranchal. In the following 8 states, if you have place of business, your aggregate turnover should not exceed 75 lakhs to think composition scheme, meaning thereby rest of the India 150 lakhs, namely 1.5 crore, namely 150 lakhs. For the following specified states is 75 lakhs aggregate turnover should not exceed. Sir, you said one group. This is the one group. Trader, manufacturer, restaurant. For them, threshold limit for composition scheme, I said either 1 for 50 lakhs or 75 lakhs. Depends upon the state where you have the place of business. Very good. Now the point comes into picture. Other group. Other group nothing but a service provider who provide services, namely other than restaurant. In that case, like a chartered accountant, cost accountant, company secretary, or otherwise works contractor, or the what we can call the manpower supplier, or renting of a cab services, transportation of goods services, transportation of passenger services. For example, I'm telling you, being a service provider other than restaurant services, If so, all over India, pan India basis, aggregate turnover should not exceed 50 lakhs. This 50 lakhs. Aggregate turnover should not exceed 50 lakhs. I mentioned here 50 lakhs aggregate turnover should not exceed. Further, my dear friends, aggregate turnover nothing but 150 lakh rupees. That means to say that second group, who are they? Service providers other than restaurant services. Aggregate turnover 50 lakhs max all over India. Now, whenever you refer 1.5 crore or 75 lakhs for a trader, manufacturer, or restaurant. In the case of a service other restaurant, 50 lakhs. This is the turnover of the preceding financial year that we should not forget. If you being a trader, manufacturer, or a restaurant fellow, aggregate turnover in the preceding financial year not exceeded 150 lakhs, not exceeded in case of few states 75 lakhs. In the case of a service provider, other than restaurant fellow, aggregate turnover in the preceding financial year does not exceed 50 lakhs. One can think of compost scheme. But one thing is very clear. Hey, Mr. Taxpayer, if you choose composition scheme, very big disadvantage is also be there. You are not eligible to avail input tax credit. Ensure that. Sir, I have very negligible input tax credit. Very good. Then you are satisfying the conditions. Go with the option by choosing composition scheme. Resultantly, you are going to pay the tax very negligible amount of percentage. That too, you are going to pay tax quarterly once. And also, you are going to be file the return GST form GST CMP composition -08 form GST MP 08 is the return you supposed to be filed quarterly once and pay the tax also quarterly once, but ensure that you are not eligible for availing input tax. That means to say that basically to speak, a composition scheme is a tax planning nature left to the option of the taxpayer. So, is a tax planning aspect. You have to estimate what would be my tax liability and what is my input tax rate under the composition scheme tax liability. If I choose how much I am going to be lose input tax rate by comparing the two, which is economical for you, which is a beneficial for you, left you to option. So, composition scheme is an optional scheme, a helping hand to MSME sector set by the GST Council. So, in that case, we refer only one criteria to look for composition scheme threshold limit in the preceding financial year for first group, namely trader, manufacturer, or restaurant, should not exceed 1 crore 50 lakhs, should not exceed for few states like Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur, Mizoram, Meghalaya, Sikkim, Tripura, Nagaland, or Uttarakhand. For the few states, 75 lakhs maximum. For a service provider all over India, other than restaurant services, in that case, in the preceding financial year, for second group should not exceed 50 lakhs. One criteria we understand to choose the composition scheme, to opt the composition. And we also understood you should not be in a position to avail input tax credit if you opt to pay GST under the composition scheme. Further, my dear friends, what are the conditions being a composition taxpayer should satisfy? I mentioned here trader, manufacturer, restaurant, services as first group. Second group also I'm mentioning service provider providing services other than the restaurant nature. If so, they should satisfy furthermore conditions. They should not be supply non-taxable supplies. They should not be supply non-taxable supplies. That is important to note. They should not supply non-taxable supplies. Non-taxable goods, non-taxable service should not be supplied. One example for non-taxable supply of goods is considered alcoholic liquor meant for human consumption, which is non-taxable supply. Not be dealt with that. If it's so, irrespective of a turnover, you qualify from composition with immediate effect. I am repeating, with immediate effect, you deferred from the composition scheme and go for normal scheme by submission of withdrawal of composition scheme form ST 04 within 7 days from the date of event occurred. Sir, non-taxable goods, you said very clearly. What is non-taxable? Example, alcohol, liquor for meant for human. What about non-taxable services? Anything is like that, is there non-taxable services? Unlike of alcoholic liquor for human consumption, I cannot able to invite non-taxable services because alcohol liquor meant for human consumption very clearly kept outside the purview of the GST under the Article 366, sub-article 12, capital A of the Constitution of India very clearly said GST apply on all goods except alcohol liquor meant for human consumption. Like that, specifically in the Constitution, not kept outside the purview of the GST any service. But for the discussion point of view, I will say that services which are neither goods nor services, namely supply excludes Schedule 3. May be aware of that. Schedule 3, supply excludes. That can be one thing of this. One can think of supply exclude. Supply exclude. Section 7, subsection 2, clause A. Supply excludes Schedule 3. Section 7, subsection 2, clause B. Central government, state government, or unitary or local authority providing services acting as a public authority also supply exclude. From that, you can of non-tax, which is not a supply of goods, not supply. That means to say that, hey, Mr. Trader, manufacturer, or restaurant, one group or other group, the service provider other than the restaurant should not supply non-taxable goods or services. If you supply, you disqualify with immediate effect from composition scheme and switch over to normal scheme by submission of form of withdrawal of the composition scheme form GST CMPG within 7 days from the date of event occurred. Good, sir. So we are not dealing with the non-taxable goods or services, sir. Then second point here, point number B. Hey, Mr. Trader, manufacturer, restaurant, or otherwise a service provider other than restaurant, you should not supply interstate outward supply of goods or services. I am highlighting the topic here term interstate outward supply of goods or services. That means I should not supply as my supply of goods or services at interstate level to others. In that case, am I receive the goods or services from other state? Obviously, sir. Interstate inward supplies, no restriction. Interstate outward supplies, only the restriction. For the clarity, my dear, interstate outward supply of goods or services. If you carried out, hey, Mister, you are not eligible for composition scheme. With immediate effect, you have to switch over to normal scheme, irrespective of the turnover. Sir, I supply the goods, sir, in the following manner. I am Mr. C of Chennai. I chosen the composition scheme. I chosen the composition scheme. I am paying the GST under composition scheme. I am C of Chennai. I sold the goods from Chennai to Pondicherry, Mr. P of Pondicherry, which is Union Territory. Tamil Nadu state different, Pondicherry Union Territory is different. That means if C of Chennai, who is under composition scheme, supply the goods, supply the services to P of Pondicherry, sufficient. I am not eligible for composition. With immediate effect, I have to be switch over to normal scheme. That means to say that interstate outward supplies, if I made, I should not be under composition scheme. Sir, what about export of goods? I supply the goods from Chennai to Mr. M of Malaysia. Goods supplied from Chennai to Malaysia. I export the goods. Is it so? Yes, sir. It is also be called as interstate outward supply as per our understanding under the 101st Amendment Act in the Constitution of India, where very clearly mentioned that interstate supply, which includes import or exports, cross-border transactions, is called as the interstate supply. So, if the composition taxpayer got occasion to export the goods, interstate outward supply, therefore not eligible for composition. But this restriction is not applied for interstate inward supply. For my purchases, no problem. For my sale only, this particular provision says you should not sell goods to other states. You should not provide the services to other states. Now coming to point number C. Here is an amendment from 1st October 2023. Supply of services, not goods. Supply of services through e-commerce operator who is required to collect the TCS under section 52 of the GST Act. A e-commerce operator who is required to collect the TCS, through whom, if I supply the services sufficient, I disqualify from composition scheme. Composition scheme is not applicable for me. I have to switch over to normal scheme with immediate effect by submission of the withdrawal of the composition scheme from GST CMP within 7 days from the date of event occurred. Got the clarity, my dear friends? This particular restriction is not applied from 1st October 2023 if I am a supplier of goods being a composition scheme through e-commerce operator who required to collect the TCS. No problem. I can supply the goods through e-commerce operator. Still, I can retain the benefit of composition scheme. However, hey, Mr. Supplier of the goods, are you supplying the goods to e-commerce operator? Yes, sir. What goods are you supplying? Sir, I'm supplying the goods of laptops through Amazon e-commerce operator who is required to collect the TCS. Is it so? Ensure that you should not be supply your goods through e-commerce operator interstate outward supply. That is important. That means the point to highlight here is supplier of the goods who is under composition scheme can also supply through e-commerce operator intrastate supply only. However, a supplier who supplies the services through e-commerce operator intrastate or interstate disqualify from composition. How to understand this point? Furthermore, I am bringing to a notice, my dear sir, the amendment is as follows. The benefit of composition scheme, which was earlier not available to the registered person engaged in supplying the goods through e-commerce operator, shall now be extended to them. As a result, these registered persons now have the option to pay the tax under the composition. Then how we should understand this entire amended provision? In the simplified manner, I'm bringing to a notice like a question and answer. Question: can composition taxpayer make supply of services through an e-commerce operator? The answer to the given question: absolutely no. Hey, Mr. Service Provider, how can you provide these services through e-commerce operator? Sir, intrastate supply, not allowed. Interstate supply, not allowed. If you supplied, being a supply of services through e-commerce operator, disqualify from composition scheme with immediate effect set by the CBIC and very clearly notified by the government upon the recommendation of the GST Council. The answer to this, the amendment applies only to the supply of the goods through e-commerce operators and not to the supply of services through e-commerce operators. Services provided supplying through e-commerce operator portal are still not eligible for composition scheme. That means supplier of the goods through e-commerce operator allowed, supplier of services through e-commerce operator not allowed is the meaning of it. Now question number 2 in the given case. Can a composition taxpayer make interstate supply of goods through an e-commerce operator? No, Mr. Hey, Mr. Trader or a manufacturer, if you supply the goods to e-commerce operator allowed to supply, then you can have composition scheme. Such a supply should be restricted to intrastate supply. You cannot supply interstate outward supply of goods to e-commerce operator. If you did so, you are also not eligible for composition scheme. The answer to the given question as follows. No, after the amendment, a composition taxpayer can only make intrastate supply of goods through e-commerce operators. The interstate supply of goods through e-commerce operators is still not permitted under the composition. Further clarity, sir. Furthermore, any doubt in the given case? I'm asking up to this. No doubt. Excellent. We'll proceed further. So, what we understand the composition scheme? We understand the composition scheme, the following points. A trader, a manufacturer, a restaurant fellow is one group. Their aggregate turnover in the preceding financial year should not exceed 1.5 crores, should not exceed 75 lakhs for few states. On the other hand, if you go to the second group, service provider other than the restaurant, their aggregate turnover should not exceed 50 lakhs. Whenever I say eligibility purpose, aggregate turnover, always you have to refer preceding financial year, namely in a simple terminology, previous year. Now, dear friends, I have a doubt. I hope so you answer. Presenting one doubt here as follows. In the given case where I am Mr. Rafi, a practicing chartered accountant. For example, I am Mr. Rafi, a practicing chartered accountant. I commenced my profession after obtaining certificate of practice (COP) on 1st April 2024. Onwards, I started my profession. For the year 2024-25 financial year, am I eligible for composition? Being a practicing chartered accountant, a service provider other than restaurant service provider, am I eligible for composition scheme for the current year, the year in which I started my profession, namely 24-25 financial year? Am I eligible for composition scheme? I am asking a simple doubt to my beloved friends. Answer to me, please. First, quickly. Eligible or not? Yes or no? Say something, my dear. Eligible, excellent. Hats off to the answer. What a great answer you provide. First class, first answer perfectly positively said. Yes, sir. Mr. Rafi, being a practicing chartered accountant who commenced the profession from 1st April 2024 in the year 2024-25, he is eligible for composition scheme because for me, previous year turnover zero. The zero is less than 50 lakhs. As a result, I am eligible for composition scheme. Excellent. Hats off to the answer correctly shown to me. Even you say incorrectly, no problem, my dear friend. You are my friend. I will take up greatly. I will correct in a right manner. Now, furthermore, my dear friends, referring to you here, the composition scheme. Sir, as a composition taxpayer, can I, being a resident, being a non-resident taxable person, can I choose composition scheme? Or being a casual taxable person, can I choose the composition scheme? The law of the land here very clearly says, hey, Mr. Composition, mean to say, the casual taxable person, hey, Mr. Non-resident taxable person, you both of them disqualify to choose composition scheme. So what is it is? Huh? Who am I? Non-resident taxable person. Who am I? Casual taxable person. As a casual taxable person, as a non-resident taxable person, you are not eligible for composition scheme. You have to pay normal rate of GST. And for you, basically, you people are compulsorily should be get registered under section 24 of the C. That should not be forget. And you pay the tax normal rate. Sir, who is a casual taxable person first of all? Not eligible for composition scheme. Not eligible for composition scheme. I will tell you. Sir, I am Mr. C of Chennai. I belongs to Tamil Nadu. My place of business in Tamil Nadu. My place of address proof in Tamil Nadu. My Aadhaar proof, my PAN, my ration card, all are belongs to Tamil Nadu. I am a resident of Tamil Nadu. I am Mr. C of Chennai. I am a businessman. I am providing, let us say, electrical services, electrical engineering services. Electrical engineering services, Mr. Rafi being a service provider. Mr. Rafi means Mr. C to say, because my name is C of Chennai. I am an electrical engineering service provider in Tamil Nadu. One fine day, what happened? There is a call from Hyderabad, Telangana state. Sir, we are going to conduct Koti Deepochavam festival in NTR Stadium of Hyderabad. Could you please come forward and provide electrical work, lighting, decorating? They asked. Then I asked, by knowing that, I'm very happy. Definitely, sir, I will come and provide to you the electrical and lighting services, decorating services. How long you want my services over there? They replied, sir, every year we used to conduct the Koti Deepochavam in a greater manner, almost all 1 month, sir. So your presence in our state of Telangana in Hyderabad, almost all 1 month, sir. I said, definitely, I am coming over there. How much you will pay? I asked. They said, sir, for 1 month, solidly we will pay 5 lakh rupees for your services. I am very happy. With that, I am packing my things from Tamil Nadu. I went to Telangana state, Hyderabad, where I provided very good lighting, decorating, electrical work I provided. I stayed there almost all 1 month. Koti Deepocham, a great festival, is to conduct in Hyderabad. So I provided services. 1 month is over. They paid to me 5 lakhs. With that, I came back to my hometown, Chennai, Tamil Nadu. So the person basically Indian resident who belongs to Tamil Nadu state, going to another state, namely Telangana state, where there is no place of business, where there is no address proof, but providing supply of taxable services for the time being, temporarily, once the services got completed, and coming back to his hometown Chennai. If so, such Mr. C of Chennai in the state of Telangana is named as casual taxable person. For him, registration under the GST is mandatory, and paying the tax normal scheme GST rates. For Mr. C of Chennai, who is a casual taxable person in the state of Telangana, is not eligible for composition. Now come back. Referring to you now, who is a non-resident taxable person. Sir, my name is Mr. Sing Chong from Japan. What is my name? Sing Chong from Japan. Came to India for providing taxable supply of goods, taxable supply of services. I came from outside India. I have no place of business in India itself. I'm not having any PAN, permanent account number. I'm not belongs to India. I'm a resident of Japan. My name is Ching Chong. I came from Japan to India to provide my taxable supply of services, taxable supply of services as taxable supply of goods. In that case, in India, Mr. Ching Chong is named as non-resident taxable person. In that case, hey Mr. Ching Chong, for you the composition scheme is not allowed. Hey, Mr. Chingchang, being a non-resident taxable person, you are liable to pay normal rate of tax in India. You are a non-resident taxable under the meaning thereby, in a simple terminology, to say that a casual taxable person or a non-resident taxable person are not eligible for composition scheme. That is further, my dear friends, referring to you here. Very, very, very important, my dear. It is what is there on the screen. If being a taxpayer, I opted composition scheme at my option, left to my tax planning. I satisfied the conditions. What conditions are satisfied? My aggregate turnover not exceeded threshold limit prescribed for composition scheme, not exceeded. Second one, I am not supplying non-taxable goods or services. The third one, I am not supplying interstate outward supplies. I am not supplying through e-commerce operator. I satisfy some condition. I chosen the composition scheme. When you pay the GST under the composition scheme, if I'm a trader, 0.5% CGST, 0.5% HGST on taxable supply of goods or services only I'm liable to pay. On the other hand, if I'm a manufacturer, liable to pay composition scheme, GST, CGST 0.5%, HGST 0.5% on my total turnover. But the total turnover does not include interest earned on deposit, loans, or advances. Further, my dear, aggregate turnover for taxation purpose. If you say aggregate turnover for taxation purpose is only the turnover, does not include interest earned and deposit loans advances for a manufacturer, the turnover taxable as well as exempted. For a trader, only taxable turnover to pay the composition tax. For a restaurant fellow, is going to be paid the tax on taxable supply as well as exempted supply. But that does not include interest earned and deposit loans. And further, the person who is going to pay the tax being a supplier of service and a composition scheme other than restaurant, 3% CGST, 3% SGST. Restaurant fellow, 2.5% CGST, 2.5% SGST. Restaurant fellow, 2.5% CGST, 2.5% SGST. Service provider other restaurant, percent CGST, 3% on turnover, which includes taxable as well as exempted. But exempted turnover does not include interest earned and deposit loans advances, which has been clearly mentioned in the given case. In my material, it's very clearly mentioned by saying that the following manner, I refer that composition scheme where the tax rates of composition nature, examiner is not going to be provided in the examination. Therefore, then how we can able to apply, sir? We should remember, we should recapitulate in the examination. Examiner is not going to be provided composition tax rates. Very clearly said. If you refer here, you're able to understand, my dear. See here, rates of GST for composition scheme, 0.5% CGST, 0.5% GST for a manufacturer on the total turnover, taxable as well as exempted. But exempted turnover does not include interest earned on deposit, loan, advances. When we talk about a trader, for him alone, 0.5% CGST, 0.5% GST only on taxable turnover. Only on taxable turnover. When you refer the restaurant fellow liable to pay GST 2.5%, CGST 2.5% GST on taxable turnover plus exempted turnover. However, exempted turnover does not include interest earned on deposit loans or further referring to you service provider providing restaurant services. You understood. Service providing restaurant 2.5, 2.5. CGST. In the case of service provider who provides services other than the restaurant services, in that case, 3% CGST, 3% SGST on what? Taxable turnover plus exempted turnover. In the current financial year, exempted turnover does not include interest earned on deposit loans. Got the clarity, my dear friends? So, is the way in which we have to recalculate in the examination. So, now coming to our regular study where we are in the given case where a particular person who paying the tax under the composition scheme should not collect tax from their buyer of goods, recipient of services. Therefore, it is very clearly mentioned here, if you refer in the given case, you understand is mentioned here. Composition taxable person not eligible to collect tax on supplies. Now it's clearly visible seems to be composition taxable person not eligible to collect tax on supplies. That word should be mentioned in the invoice. And the invoice should not be contained any tax amount. See here there is no tax amount, only the value of supply aluminum ladders 20 numbers where per rate 4,450, totally 89,000. That is the value of supply. The GST manufacturers sir, traders sir, 0.5% should not be collected. Then 0.5% GST, 0.5% GST pay from the pocket of a composition taxpayer. You pay from your pocket. You being a supplier should not collect the tax. You are not eligible to collect the tax being a composition taxpayer. That means you should issue only an invoice, not a tax invoice. Such invoice we call technically bill of supply. We call it as a bill of supply. What is bill of supply? The supply where tax not shown separately in the bill is called bill of supply, and the recipient of that goods also not eligible to avail input tax credit. Supplier being a composition taxpayer, he himself not eligible to avail the not eligible to avail the input tax credit. Repeating again, Mr. Composition taxpayer, you yourself not eligible to avail input are also be not able to pass the tax what you are paying 0.5% GST, 0.5% GST, you are not eligible to pass as a credit to the recipient. So a composition taxpayer neither eligible to avail input tax credit, not able to pass statement true or false. Further, my dear friends, so a composition taxpayer should mention in the invoice composition taxpayer, comma, not eligible to collect tax. That means issue only the bill of supply. Further, my dear sir, referring from here furthermore. Hey, Mr. Composition taxpayer, don't forget in your nameplate, your signboard, you should also mention composition taxable. On account of not following these rules, you are liable for penalty, general penalty under section 125 of the CGST up to rupees 25,000 CGST, 25,000 SGST. You are liable to pay penalty. Not mentioned in the invoice. Taxable, composition taxable person not eligible to avail, not eligible to charge, not eligible to collect tax. If that was not there, or in your signboard, nameplate, if you not mentioned composition taxable person, then you are liable for penalty. under section 125 of the CGST general penalty. CGST GST up to maximum 50. So please come back. Referring furthermore here. Very, very important point. So in first group, who are the taxpayers? Trader, manufacturer, restaurant. For the trader and manufacturer, you are not allowed to supply services. Sir, services are inevitable, sir, without which I cannot provide, sir. Is it so? In that case, my dear friends, if you are supplying the what we can call services, being a trader, being a manufacturer, allowed to supply only to a permissible limit, which is 10 percentage of the aggregate turnover of the preceding financial year or rupees 5 lakhs, whichever is higher, whichever is up to that value of services you are allowed to permit. If you provide these services more than the permissible limit, being a trader, being a manufacturer, other than restaurant service, you are disqualified from. At this point, I am giving the break for 10 minutes.